Becky for being here today. I had the privilege of serving with Speaker Becky for 4 years in the Idaho legislature, and it's always good to see him. Speaker, in 2011, when Secretary Salazar invited Western states to partner with the federal government to work on solutions related to sage grouse, how did the state of Idaho respond?
We responded with enthusiasm. In the formal conversations and the informal conversations that we had, we took this as an opportunity to help plan our own destiny. For once, it looked like the locals would be empowered to solve a broad-based problem. It was what we've been talking about for decades, and we went into it with good faith. We had a lot of meetings, a lot of discussions. Again, this was not a homogeneous group. And we had a good work product come out of that. So then you can only imagine our disappointment when the goal line was moved and the rules changed.
Absolutely. So what role did the federal agencies in Idaho play during that process?
They were in the room. We had all of them in the room, and it's not like they got pre-decisional, but they certainly were able to communicate kind of a warmer, colder type of an approach as we noodled and contemplated and had discussions on what the plan might look like. And so we had, Jack Connolly was one of the, he wrote the Sage Grouse Bible. He was in the room the whole time. And and our plan reflected what was good for the bird at every turn.
So did these agencies approve of the plan?
Certainly, yes. The U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service ultimately blessed the plan. I don't think that's the proper terminology, but endorsed it, and it became the co-preferred alternative with the BLM under the NEPA process.
So you've mentioned that the main threat to sage grouse in Idaho is fires. Is that correct?
Yes. Not just I, but that's what the science says.
Correct. Do the Obama administration plans address these threats?
Well, the old plan did, because baked into the Idaho plan was a robust firefighting measures. Some of the things that I've talked about here, having if-then things, if-then statements. If the fire starts here, then it's okay to put a fire line there, and doing all of getting all the clearances ahead of time so that you have an algorithm. Basically, if the fire is in this section, then it's okay to do this other list of things. And so fire was integral, and its control was in the middle of all these plans.
So what could be done to make firefighting more effective to better protect sage habitat?
Well, thank you. I've alluded to that at the time. The firefighters know how to put out fires. We hamstring them and tie their hands with federal regulatory overlay. And so they're as frustrated, that day that we went from 500 acres to 20,000 acres was a frustrating day for the guys on the fire line. It was a frustrating day for the ranchers whose livelihood was, or their ability to feed their livestock was going up in smoke. And to have the heavy equipment sit on a truck because there was no cat tender there, someone to walk in front of it as they put the line in, and having the fire, and having by an existing road that had already been disturbed, by existing fence lines that had already been disturbed, was counterproductive. By anyone's standard, they ought to be able to make on the ground decisions. And if we're going to tie their hand on the ground, then let's ahead of time give them an algorithm that they can have in their file so that they can say, it started in this quadrant, so therefore I can do these things. And we've touched all of the archaeological, historical, cultural, other species concerns ahead of time when you're not under the gun of having a fire.
And it's not just frustrating, but it's more dangerous for the firefighters too, is it not?
Well, certainly.
Yeah. So are you aware of the notice of intent that was recently released by the Department of Interior?
Yes.
Can the existing plans that affect Idaho be fixed, or do they need to be completely repealed and replaced with the state plan?
I think that we need to be able to roll back the federal plan amendments to go back to the state's plan so that each state has a plan that works in their locality. I applaud these other states. They should applaud us, and we should go back to these state plans.
Mr.
Thank you.
Tipton.
I yield back.